Okay, so in this video, I'm going to go over the exam worksheet that can be found on the National 5 Applications website. And basically what it is, it's a collection of all previous exam questions on ratio and proportion. It shows you when the paper was out, it tells you what paper it was, so paper 1 or paper 2, which tells you whether it's non-calculator or calculator. Remember, paper 1 is non-calculator and paper 2 would be calculator. So what we're going to do is go through these questions. When you're trying some of these yourself, if you haven't attempted them already and you're looking for a wee bit of help, what I would suggest doing is pausing the video every so often and trying it yourself. Don't just copy down the answers, that's not going to get you anywhere. So in this first question, we've got Mary gave some money to 4 of her nieces. It was shared in proportion to their ages. So when we're talking about proportion, we're kind of thinking, right, ratio and proportion. They're both very, very similar. And it's in proportion to their ages. So there's the names, Jane, Heather, Laura and Kate, and those are their ages. So what that means is, in terms of parts or shares, that's what we talk about, we are giving Jane 4, Heather would get 11, Laura would get 9 and Kate would get 6 parts, okay, of the share. We're told that Kate's share is £1,950, so that's Kate there. Calculate the total amount of money that Mary gifted her nieces. Okay, so what we're told is that Kate's share is 1,950, so I'm going to put that here. Kate's share is 1,950. What we're now going to do is use that information to work out then the amount of money that was given to the others, or the total amount. So I know that 6 shares, which is what Kate gets, is equal to £1,950. And what I'm going to do is then work out what 1 share is worth, and then use that to multiply up to get the total. So 6 shares is equal to 1,950. How do I work out what 1 share is? Well, we've seen these hopefully quite a lot. I've gone from 6 down to 1. What have I done? I've divided by 6. So what do I need to do at this side? I need to also divide that by 6 as well. Now, when you're doing these type of questions, look at what paper it is. It usually says P1 or P2. So if it's P1, that means that it's going to be a non-calculator question. So we've got to do this non-calculator. So I've got to set up a division for 1,950 and I'm dividing that by 6. Okay, so I can't fit any 6's into 1, carry the 1 along, I can fit 3 into that, which is 18, 1 left is 15, how many can I fit into that? It's 2, 3's left over, how many can I fit into 30? It's 5, so it's £325 is 1 share. That's for 1 share. Now, what I want to do is use that to work out the total amount. And there's 2 ways that I could do it. I could individually work out 4 shares, 11 shares, 9 shares, and then add them to the original 6 shares. But what I could also do is work out how many shares there are in total, and then use that. Both methods would be fine. Okay, you probably agree though, working out the total shares and adding them all up at the start is much easier than working out each individual one and then adding them together. So we had Jane's shares, which is 4, 11, 9 and 6. So 4, 11, 9 and 6. Remember, it's the total amount, so I'm still including that 6 that was already given, that was in Kate's amount. So 4 plus 11 is 15, plus 9, plus 6, and then thinking about all that, that's going to get to 30. Okay, it's 15 plus 15 really once we do that. So the total shares for that one is 30. So I now know that the total number of shares is 30, so the total value, if you like, the total money is going to be that 30 times the amount per share, which is 325. Now, how do I multiply by 30? What I need to do is times by 3 and times by 10. Remember, this is non-calc, so you'd be expected to do this. 10 times 325, that would just be 3,250. Add a 0 on, and then times that by 3. Now you could do that as a sum on the side, so I would do 3,250 times that by 3. 3 times 0 is just 0. 3 times 5 is 15, put in the 5, carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, 3 times 3 is 9. So 9,750 is the answer for that first one. That's the total amount of shares, the total amount of money that was shared out between those nieces. So that's the first example, the first question in this worksheet. Question number 2. Ali, Kate and Jim are paid to deliver leaflets advertising a new restaurant. They shared the money they were paid into a ratio of 357. Jim received £154. Calculate how much the restaurant paid in total to deliver the leaflets. So very much similar. We've got a ratio, we're told what one person gets, and we're asked to work out what they would get in total. Now this one is in a paper 2, so we can actually use calculators for this one. Okay, so any calculations I'm going to be doing the side in a calculator, and you can do the same. So the ratio is 3, 5 and 7, and it goes Ali, Kate and Jim. Remember, it goes in order. So that would be Ali, Kate and Jim. And we're told that Jim gets £154. So that 7 here is worth £154. Okay, so I am told that 7 shares equals £154. I want to work out that 1 share equals, and then use that. So I've divided by 7, so I'm going to have to divide by 7 over here. Don't have to do that wee bit of working, it's just to kind of demonstrate to you why we're doing it. So 154 divided by 7, and that's 22. That is one that could have been done on calculator, but the question's letting us use calculator, so that's fine. So 1 share is £22. Now again, what I could do is work out what amount each person got and then add them all up, but I could also just work out how many shares there were in total. So there was 3 shares, 5 shares and 7 shares. So add those all up to work out the total number of shares, and that was, I have to go back again, 3 plus 5 plus 7. And again, don't get that wrong. If you need to put that in a calculator, do so, because you're allowed to. You might as well do that to check, but that's going to be 15. So I've got 15 shares, each share is £22. So now I'm just going to work out the total money given by taking my number of shares, which we worked out to be 15, and times it by the price per share, which we worked out was £22. Nice and easy, 15 times 22. Don't need to worry about doing working, it's on the calculator, that's all we need to write. So the total was £330 in total. And then what you can always do is double check that that works. That if I was to allocate that in the way it's shown, that would add up as it should. Okay, so you could work backwards as well. So that's question number 2 in this worksheet. Number 3. This is from a specimen paper, so that's like an example of what the papers might have looked like when they were first designing the applications course. This is a paper 1, so it's non-calc. It takes 5 bakers 3 hours to decorate a tray of cupcakes. All the bakers work at the same rate. Calculate the time taken for 4 bakers working at this rate to decorate the same number of cupcakes. Okay, so we're dealing with a type of problem where we are decreasing the number of bakers, so we're getting less bakers, but they're being expected to do the same amount of work. If that's the case, you would expect that the time here would increase. If you get less people doing it, it's going to take longer. So what we've got here is an indirect proportion type question, or inverse. Proportion type question. So an indirect proportion or inverse proportion type question is one where, as one value goes up or down, the other one does the opposite. So as we're decreasing the number of bakers, the time should go up, whereas direct proportion, both go up or both go down. Okay, so what I'm wanting to work out is the time. So the way I'm going to set out my wee bit of table is the thing I want to know I'm going to put at the right hand side of my table. So I'm going to have time over here and bakers over here. Okay, you can call it a number, you can call it people, it doesn't matter. What I would like you to do is have the thing you're trying to work out on the right hand side, and we were trying to work out time. So what did we originally start with? Well, we had 5 bakers and that time was 3 hours. With these types of questions, what's really key a lot of the time is working out the value for 1 and then scaling up from that. So what I'm going to do is work out what 1 baker would take, how long 1 baker would take. Now, what we've established here is that it's an inverse proportion question, and if you've not maybe worked out from the question, hopefully work it out here. So what I've got done from going from 5 to 1 is divide by 5. So what you would expect normally is to divide by 5 on the other side, but then what you should stop and think is that that would make the time less, and it doesn't make any sense for one person to take less time. So it's an inverse type question, so I'm doing the opposite. So I'm timesing by 5 on this side. 3 times 5 is just 15. So that's me now got what 1 baker would take. The question was asking how long would 4 bakers take, and we also had to give the answer in hours and minutes, so that suggests it's going to be a wee maybe decimal answer. So I'm told that I'm working it out for 4 bakers. What have I done going from 1 to 4? Well, I've scaled it up the times in before. But remember, think about it again, if I had multiplied the time by 4, it would have took longer. It's not going to take longer for more people to do it. It's going to be the opposite. So it's division, because it's an inverse question. So what I'm doing is 15 divided by 4. This is non-calculator, so you would be expected to either do it in your head if you can, or just set down the sum. Can't do anything than that. Carry along. How many 4s can I fit into 15? The answer is 3, but remember, I'm not going to be having remainders, I'm going to have to continue this on by putting a decimal point in and a wee 0. So I got to 4 times 3, which was 12. I've got 3 left over. So how many 4s can I fit into 30 now? I can fit 7. 4 times 7 is 28. So I'm left with 2. How many 4s can I fit into 20? The answer is 5. So it's 375. 3.75, and it would be hours. What are we told though? We are told to put this into hours and minutes. So just going to take that down to one side. So this part here is already in hours, right? That's whole hours. So this bit here can just stay the same, and that's 3 hours. What we need to do with this bit here is almost remember these exact values for times. So 0.75 is 3/4. What's 3/4 of an hour? That is 45 minutes. What you could also try and do is 0.75 and times it by 60, because it's a fraction of 60 minutes. But what I would suggest is that that's one that you remember. You remember 0.25 is 1/4 of an hour, 0.5 is half an hour, and 0.75 is 3/4 of an hour. So that is our answer there. Does that make sense? Well, we've gone from 3 hours, dropped the amount of bakers and the times went up. So that seems to make sense. Okay, so you can always do these wee checks just to see if your answer looks as if that makes sense. Okay, so question number 4. The mathematics teachers in a school win a lottery. They decide to share the winnings in proportion to the amount they each pay per week. So this is something that happens quite a lot. Okay, you put together a kitty to buy lottery tickets, and then you would maybe share the winnings. So they each pay the following amounts each week. Remember, it's in proportion to the amounts that they pay. Alright, so Mr. Jones is 0.50, so 50 pence. Miss Smith is £2, Mr. Ross is £2.50, and Mr. Young is £4. Promise this isn't my question that I wrote. So Mr. Young's share is £2,794,000 when they won it. Calculate how much the teachers win in total. So Mr. Young gets, officially Mr. Young unfortunately, gets £2,794,000. So he gets that amount, and that is worth, if we think about it in monetary terms, okay, 4 shares. Somebody gets 0.5, somebody gets 2, somebody gets 2.50, 2.5, and somebody gets 4. So just to kind of rewrite that, it would be 0.5, 2, 2.5, and 4. What you could do if you wanted to scale it up to make that a whole number, okay, so I would be doubling all the terms, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so that's the amount that Mr. Young gets, and that's worth 4 shares. So this here is about 4 shares. So, going a bit too far down. 4 shares is equal to 2,794,000. I want to work out what 1 share is equal to. How am I going to do that? Well, I've divided by 4 here, and I've divided by 4 here as well. Then what I need to do, because this is a non-calculator paper, you can tell that because it says paper number 1, is set out a wee sum if I can't do that, excuse me, in my head. So it would be 4 in here, and 2,794, and we'll just put the zeros in as well. Okay, how many 4s can I get into 2? It's 0, carry the 2. This is going to be 6. Fit into 27, I'm going to have 3 left over. So how many can I get? 4s can I get into 39? Well, that's going to be 9. I'm then going to be left with 3. How many can I fit into 34? That's 8. What am I left over with? It's 2. How many can I fit into 20? It's 5. 5 times 4 is 20. And then the rest is just going to be zeros. Okay, so each person is getting that amount there, 2,794. Yep. Okay, so that's what 1 share is worth. 698,500. So £698,500, and that's what 1 share is. And then what I'm going to do is work out the total number of shares by adding all of these values up, and then multiply by the amount for 1 share. So total shares equals, I know Mr. Young, that was 4 shares, so adding on the rest, there was a 0.5, there was a 2.5, and I'll need to check what the other one was, 2. Much easier to do this way than doing it for each individual and then adding them together. So I've got 4 plus 0.5 plus 2.5 plus 2, that would be 9 altogether. Just take your time, non-calculator, make sure you're doing it non-calc. when you're doing these practice questions. So you then work out the total. I need to do 9 times that amount I got up here. So 698,500. Set out a sum if you need to. Okay, you can get rid of the zeros for now and do that sum. Not going to demonstrate that. That should be fairly straightforward, hopefully. So times in 6,869,8,500 by 9, and you're going to get 6,286,500. Going to put in the wee commas, so we've got £6,286,500 there altogether. Okay, but remember, I've just done that for quickness. What you could do is get rid of the zeros for just now, do 6,985 times it by 9, and then add the zeros back in. So that's another one done. Example number 5. Now, I noticed when I was looking at this, it's slightly different, but I can see why it perhaps relates to proportion. So, and we're now on to life skills, which is the old version of applications. So a restaurant can only buy long grain rice in 2 sizes of bags. A 9 kilogram bag which costs £25.65 and a 20 kilogram bag that costs £57.20. What size is better value for the restaurant? Use working to justify your answers, we can't just say. So when we are trying to compare different things, we have to compare the same thing. We can't just look at those prices there just now and say the 25.65 one's better. What we need to do for this one is find the price per kilogram. And this word per here pretty much means divide. So we're going to be doing pounds, the price, divided by the amount of kilograms that we've got, and then we're going to get a price per kilo. So to get the first one, so this is the 9 kg bag, just underline that, I'm going to divide 25.65 by 9, this is paper 1, so it's non-calc. So 9, 25.65, 0 fits into that too, carry the 2 on, I can fit only 2 into that. Remainder 7, I think. Yep, 2 times 9 is 18. That's remainder 7. Into 76, I can fit 8. Make sure I put the decimal point in. 8 times 9 is 72, so I had 4 left over. And then that's going to be 9. How many 9s fit into 45? Is 5. So it's £2. This one is £2.85 per kilogram. And that's for this 9 gram bag. What about the 20 gram bag? So 20 kilogram bag. When I'm dividing by 20, what I'm going to do is divide by 10 and then divide by 2. So I'm going to do £57.20, divide it by 10, and then divide it by 2. So remember, when I'm dividing by 10, I would be moving the decimal point 1 place to the left. So it's going to be 5.72 now, and dividing that by 2. Set out a sum if you need to. Now by 2, I can get 2 into that, carry the 1 over, I can get 8 into that, remainder 1, which is 6. So for this one, it's £2.86 per kilogram. So let's have a wee comparison. 20 kilogram bag is £2.86 and the 9 kilogram bag was £2.85. So actually, just a wee finishing statement, because you need to make sure you justify it and actually answer the question. I like to use a wee 3 dots, which basically means therefore. So therefore, 9 kilogram bag is better value as, what was it, £2.85 per kilogram is less than, you can just write less than or use the symbol, £2.86 per kilogram. And that's us answered the question and justified it with working. That's the kind of working that's talking about. Okay, very last question in this worksheet, I believe, is number 6. Bit of a wordy question, this one. So, publicity material is to be designed for a theatre company to show that it has been sponsored by a local company. All the publicity material must feature the company logo. The company logo is in the shape of a triangle. The designer is to produce a small flyer and a large poster, and the designer has produced a sketch for the flyer as shown. So what we're showing here, this here, is the flyer. The ratio of the dimensions in the poster to those in the flyer is 7:2. So the 7 is for the poster and the 2 is for the flyer. I'm just going to use P and F. Calculate the dimensions of the logo as it will appear on the poster. Okay, so the company logo is this bit here in the shape of a triangle. So that there is the company logo. And what the question's asking, it's not actually asking for the size of the poster, it's asking for the size of the logo itself, this 8 and this 7. Okay, so basically I'm looking for what would this 8 and what would this 7 be on the poster. So let's write out a ratio. So we had poster and the flyer, and it was in the ratio of 7:2. And what I want to know is what would appear on the poster. So that's the thing I want to know. I would tend to like to have that on the right hand side. So I'm just going to turn that over and make it flyer to poster. Just personal preference, I think, really. So the flyer was 2 and the poster was 7. Okay, so let's take one of the lengths here. So let's deal with the 8 centimeters first. So 8 centimeters is the length on the flyer. What have I done to this 8 centimeters? To this 2, sorry, to go up to 8. What have I done? What have I multiplied by? Okay, so what I've done is multiplied by 4. So I'm going to do that to this side. When I do that to this side, I have to do the same to the other and multiply by 4. So 7 times 4 is 28 centimeters. See if I can squeeze that in. Okay, so that's one bit of the triangle. What's the other length of the triangle? Well, it's 7 down the bottom here. So I'm going to do that again. So it was flyer to poster, and it was 2 to 7. And the length of the flyer was 7, and I want to work out what the length of the poster was. So what I want to know is, well, what have I multiplied 2 by to get to 7? Alright, now I can see that, right? I can tell it's 3.5, right? You double 3.5 and you get to 7, so I can tell that. If you can't, what you could do is 7 divided by 2. You want to work out what this has been times by. So what you could do is do 7 divided by 2, and that would tell you. And this question, if I'm not mistaken, if I just go back, is a paper 2 one. So that means it's calculator, so I could do that. Okay, so I'll do it on the side here somewhere. What you could do is 7 divided by 2, and that actually works out as 3.5. Once I've times one side with 3.5, I need to do the same to the other side. So I'm going to put times. So I'm timesing the 3.5. 7 times 3.5. This isn't a this is a calculator question, so I can just put that in the calculator, and I'm going to get 24.5. Now what you could do is times the 7 by 3 and then half the 7, because that's what the 0.5 would do, and then add it on. But calculator question, so we don't need to do that. So I'm just going to do a wee quick sketch of the triangle to show what the dimensions would be. So it would be 28 centimetres here. Sorry, it was 28 centimetres elsewhere, I think. I've done that wrong. Yep, it was 28 centimetres along here, sorry, that length up here. It was 28 centimetres. And this length down here was 24.5 centimetres. And that is us finished that question, got the new dimensions that were shown on the poster. Okay, so hopefully that video demonstrated the different types of questions that have come up in the past, maybe that's 5 years, something like that, and you can start to see patterns and you can start to see the processes that you need to do to complete them.